Hey, what's going on? It's your boy Dice here. So if you don't know me, I help young, analytically and logically minded men that are just like you to discover your purpose so that you can live your life with clarity, meaning and direction. So this is literally going to be a continuation video on the one I just did literally before this, on the topic of the things that you should have worked out leading up to 30. In this video, we're going to be covering off briefly on two big topics. The first one, which is going to be the system to success, and the next one's going to be actualizing your own death. So if you like this sort of content, then hit that like button and subscribe, and also stay tuned because I've got probably one or maybe two more videos on this topic, and I hate for you to miss out on that content. All right, with that being said, let's get cracking into the video. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is by now, leading up to 30, you should have discovered that there's actually like a system to success. There is a process that actually significantly increases the probability of success in whatever that you're doing. You've probably been like on the computer watching a lot of YouTube videos on influencers that you look up to that are talking about success principles. You've been reading a lot of books, maybe you've been attending some seminars, maybe you've already got a mentor. You've been sort of like immersing yourself in this self-development culture, being a bit of a self-development junkie, and you're trying to work out what the correct information is, and that's fantastic. But you obviously don't want to go too far with that to the point where you become overwhelmed and you don't take any action. But one of my favorite influencers that I look up to dearly is this man called Derek Moneyberg. Okay, I've been following him since he was coaching dating advice back in 2017. But a lot of his principles that he's talking about now with all these UFC fighters is basically a rehash of the principles that he actually picked up from his dating courses and things that he put out previously. So in one of his dating courses, he has this formula that I want to share with you. And the formula is success is action multiplied by percentage of correct action multiplied by time. Okay, so that's action multiplied by percentage of correct action multiplied by time. So knowing this actually sort of like simplifies this whole self-development journey that you're on, because then you actually get to see where the information actually plugs into the model. Okay, so this tends to what this tends to do is you tend to ask yourself better questions. Okay, you're like, what can I actually do so that I can take more action? What are the blocks? Okay, so that's its own realm, that's its own category. Then the next thing is like, well, what can I do to actually have more percentage of correct action? Okay, so that's things like, you know, watching this video, seeking out other information so that you have a higher percentage of correct action. So you're not just like doing a lot of work, but you're running in the wrong direction. And the other one is time. Okay, so how can you increase your commitment, your time commitment, so that you can actually do more of the things that you know that you should be doing? So all these elements come together, and then that it significantly increases the probability of success. So yeah, hopefully you got something out of that. When I first heard that, it really clicked for me, and I hope you have that same experience. So let's sort of move into my next topic here, which is going to be actualizing your own death. Okay, so by now, leading up to 30, you should have become a lot more aware that you're going to die. Okay, memento mori. One day I will die. By now you've probably had more of, because you've been living for a longer time, there's been a much higher probability that you've had a loved one die around you. Okay, you've probably had a lot of near-death experiences. You may have been nearly hit by a car. You may have nearly, been in a car accident while you're driving. Maybe you got really sick and you ended up in hospital. For whatever it is for you, you've had these experiences that have sort of changed your perception. You're like, if I was only a meter this way, I could have been hit or I could have been electrocuted. Okay, the one that stands out for me, in 2014, I was like on the back of like an amphibious watercraft deployed in the military in Papua New Guinea, and I went to pick up something and I stood up and a power line was like over my head, because like, when you're on the back of this amphibious watercraft, you're up off the ground fairly high, and in Papua New Guinea the actual the power lines are fairly low. So I stood up, and I think that if I actually didn't have a hat on, I probably would have got electrocuted. Because it's very obviously, in a third world country, there's some pretty dodgy shit over there. So it's sort of like that actually was part of the reason why I left the military, is like, the high probabilities of death, just like, doing dumb things. Yeah, so you've gone through these near-death experiences, and this sort of has pushed you, like it did for me, to realize and actualize that you're going to die one day. Okay, you're more aware about your own death, and seeing also another thing is like seeing people that like well 1 minute were alive and the next minute they're dead, and they didn't actually get to do the things that they wanted to do. Sort of like gets you to start and ask the right questions about yourself. You're like, well, fuck. If they didn't actually get to do what they wanted to do and they thought they had all the time in the world, where am I doing this? Okay. And then you're asking questions like, well, now that I actually recognize that my time on this planet, in this whatever we call this thing, is this dimension, life, or whatever terminology resonates with you, we have a limited time frame in this. That's a guaranteed. Okay, we don't know where we go after that, if we go anywhere at all, but we know that the time here is limited. Okay, and we may actually end up like losing our time sooner rather than later. So you sort of ask these questions. You're like, well, what do I want to do with that time that's left over? Okay, what would bring the most amount of happiness points into my life and give my life the most amount of purpose and meaning? So, you know, asking you these sort of questions sort of really starts to open the doorway so that you can actually go after the things that are important to you. So if you're picking up what I'm putting down, maybe you and I could actually work together. Okay, maybe you're interested in my mentoring program, and if you are, then by all means send us a message on Instagram, and just ask me a question. Just ask me something that that you've been struggling with, and maybe we'll go back and forth a little bit of time. Maybe you and I could actually get on a one-on-one discovery call, and we'll actually like to get to know each other a little bit and see if we are a good fit. You know, I have a very like meticulous, logical, step-by-step way of going about purpose, about spirituality. You know, there's no rocks, there's no chakras, there's no stars. You know, it's very practical and pragmatic shit. You know, I don't really like this whole like, yeah, let's all just stroke rocks and cry in a circle and pretend it's okay. Like, I'm not really into that sort of shit, as you could probably already tell. If we work out that we're actually a good fit for each other, then yeah, let's get on my mentoring program and let me help you change your life. Let me help you. Obviously, like if you're watching this sort of content, you've been doing it for a while, you unconsciously know that you need help. Okay, you need somebody to be able to guide you and to be able to show you a few of these shortcuts so that you don't feel as miserable as you are. So yeah, it's my purpose to be able to help you with that. And yeah, if you like this sort of content, then hit that like button and subscribe. It helps set the channel a great deal, and it encourages me to do more videos like this so that I can help you. So yeah, yeah, dice out. Thanks so much for watching.